Geo tab, and I have Stephanie Volker online with me as well. Welcome to our basic Checkmate training for end users, for anybody at all that wishes to attend. Thank you very much, guys, for attending. We really do appreciate it. And I am going to go ahead and sort of give you guys all this week. What we're doing today is, as I said, it's basic training. It's going to be an overview, basic overview of some of the functionalities of our Checkmate software. Just so you do know, next week will be more of an advanced training. We will go into greater detail in some various things that we will touch on today and go into more detail next week. Okay, just to clarify. So if everything is okay and there's no questions or nothing to get nothing going on, I think I'll get started. Okay, Steph, first up, can you confirm with me that you can hear me okay and see my screen?
We can see your screen. Your sound is good. Everything is fine.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, everybody. So as what you're looking at here, of course, is the front page of our home page of our Checkmate software, and what I'm using is our Checkmate demo database. So you're viewing our demo database here, which is Checkmate 5.4. So down the side here on the left, you can see it's our simple tool pan, it's basically our toolbar, if you will, and I'm just sort of going to go through them and give you an overview of what they're all about and kind of give you a basic idea of how the system works. Please do feel free to enter in any questions as we go along, and we'll stop, take breaks, and give you those questions as we go.
Heather, maybe we should just kind of go over how the meeting function works, just in case someone isn't familiar with this particular meeting application. If you have a question, you can tap on the little hand icon beside your name, and that will raise your hand and let us know that you have a question. If you are on a telephone or you have speakers and a microphone hooked up, we can unmute you and you can ask your question. If you're just listening on your computer speakers and you don't have a microphone, there is a questions panel in the meeting manager to the right-hand side. You can type in your questions, and what we'll do is we'll stop periodically and go over all of the questions and make sure everyone's getting their answers in a timely fashion. Before we move from one section to the next, we'll try to make sure that all of the questions are answered. So you can either raise your hand or type in a question, whichever your preference is.
Okay, thanks, Steph. That's awesome. So I'm going to get started here. And, of course, the first section that I'm going to start at is the very top one here, the show map. This particular tab is excellent for dispatching features, amongst other things. What you've got here is the ability to pull the data that you want to look at over in a report form, which is basically our activities and trips form down below, and basically you can put that up on the map. So you don't need to toggle back and forth between report and map, report and map. You can simply pull up what you want to see down here and place it onto the map. And I'll go ahead and show you that. So you have the ability to choose the time period that you're looking for. You can choose any of the default ones or choose your custom date and time if you'd like. So I'll leave it on today's date for easy purposes. And then I'm going to go in and choose my vehicles that I want to look at for today. And again, this is our demo database. So I'm going to pick a couple of these second harvest vehicles, and I'm interested to see what they're doing, what they've done today so far. I click the apply button, and their information and a quick, easy-to-read report shows up down below here. So I've just got the two vehicles here. You can see at a quick glance when they arrived, their arrival time at this particular address that they're at. You can see how long they were stopped there for at a quick glance, how far they drove to get there. So it's some really excellent information at a quick glance at what your vehicles are doing. So if you notice that they are stopped for any unusual amount of time here, you can drill down further. If you notice that they've been driving for too long, it seems to be the in-between calls, you can drill down a little further as well. It also gives you a quick snapshot on how long they've idled and the maximum speed that they hit for that particular trip. So it gives you, at a quick glance, quite a bit of information on what happened with your particular vehicles for the time frame that you've chosen. So what I'm going to do here, the great feature here is the ability to take these routes that these vehicles have taken and apply them to the map. So by clicking map activity, these two routes are going to come up on the map above, and then you can even view it on the map just to make sure that that everything was followed correctly. You can simply hide the report below that extends the map, and then you start zooming in a little bit just to make sure that everything's up and running. A great feature about our mapping when you're looking at the historical trips like this is that we do, if you have as many routes as you want up on the map, they will be color-coded. So it's not all the same. So a couple of features here that you can see, of course our breadcrumb route, which is fantastic, but also the stops that they take are numbered in order. Now we've got some overlap here. The guys went down on the same road here. But you can see the numbered stops that they took. Also, you can at a quick glance see that these particular numbers, these stops that are stars, are actually known addresses. So those are zones that have been input into the system. And we'll talk about zones in a little bit. But if they were actually, these stops were in a square, at a quick glance you can see that that's an unknown zone. Again, you can drill down and check it out a little further. So you have the ability to zoom in and zoom out, of course, and drill down, as I said, to get good street views. Some other functionality up here in this view tab right here, there's quite a bit here where you can drop it down, and if you're curious to know what all these little arrows and stars and everything are, we have a trip legend here that will bring it up on the bottom here. So just to help you as a reminder as to what's going on, you can see these rule exceptions. There's some stars here on the map that you can see, little red stars. Those are exception rules that have been written into the system that have been broken. So for example, a new exception rule was set up by our demo customer. They know what it means. I apologize, I don't. But it could be things like idling too long, greater than 5 minutes, or speeding over a certain amount, things like that. Again, with the view up here, you can choose our default map is openstreetmap.org, which is a cool feature in itself because it is technically an editable map. So if you simply are, if it's kind of common in municipalities where maybe your snowplow has to go up an alley and the alley may not be on the map, you can go in here actually and edit the map accordingly. You create a account at openstreetmap.org and you enter in the information that is missing, they check it out, confirm it, and then it's there for everybody to view. So the openstreetmap.org is actually quite a funky mapping system to use. Our other option here is Bing Maps. Bing Maps, if you click on that, it actually gives us the ability to look at the aerial and the hybrid view. The hybrid is excellent because it gives you the aerial with the street names. So it's an excellent tool to really drill down to get a good idea of the building that your driver has to plow the parking lot of or deliver to or whatever the case may be. It can really give you a good view of that. Another thing with our Bing Maps here is it can actually show you traffic conditions as well. If you click on that, it is real-time traffic conditions that will pop up on the major highways. So where you see that it's green, look at that. Green all the way, the traffic is free and clear. It's not very often that you see that on our roads. Oh, here we go. There's some red up here, so there's some slowing down on Highway 27. And where you see yellow, that is, or red is actually quite slow. Yellow is slowing down. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and actually clear this map because I want to go back. I'm going to bring up the report section again. And I'm going to choose all of these vehicles, and I'm going to apply them down here again. And this time, instead of doing map activity, we're going to do a live map. So what we were looking at in map activity basically gives you the historical report, the historical route of what you were looking at, what time frame and what vehicles you were looking at down below. We want to see current position. So if you simply map the current position, it'll give you all these vehicles that you've chosen down below and put their current position up on the map. And this is essentially live mapping. And as you can see here, we have the traffic conditions in behind. So we've got the live view here. Now with this, a couple of features with this that's fantastic is this live button here, when it is highlighted red, That means that it's going to update the map in close to real time. It's going to provide changes as the vehicles are changing. If I'm not mistaken, it is our map refreshes. Deb, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but about every 10 or 15 seconds, and any new updates with your vehicles will be applied at that refreshing point.
Yes, Heather. No, you're right. As soon as the map has new data, then it refreshes the map. So any new points that come in from any of these vehicles, it automatically refreshes. So
Great.
You're going to get the updated information.
Great. And another thing with the live button, it also, which is great for dispatching feature as well, because it'll keep all of your vehicles that you need to view in view at all times. So if any one of these was to pull up or start up and drive off the map, oh, there you go, that guy just updated right here. It'll readjust the map accordingly to keep them all in view so you never lose track of your vehicles. Another great functionality of our mapping here is the ability to enter in any address, and I will just use ours as an example here. So you can enter in any address here in this little box here, and you can find it, of course, which will take you right to that particular address off the map. But the best feature here is nearest. So you can click on nearest, and it'll give you a closest to scenario. So you guys, your dispatchers, whomever, they don't have to spend a whole lot of time on the phone trying to find out who is closest to this address that we need to get there soon, who's closest to. It pops up this great little window here that gives you the vehicles in order of who is closest to, but also when they last updated. So as you can see here, this TW41 is 4.8 kilometers away from that particular address that I entered. But you have, as you can see here, it has been updated in 22 hours and 25 minutes. Since this is a demo database, you got to keep in mind this one's probably sitting on one of our engineers' desks here being played with right now. So this next one, HD41, is also 4.8 kilometers away, but it has reported 1 hour and 23 minutes ago. It's a pretty good chance that that one's live and ready to rock. So I'm going to give that one a call next and send that person to this particular address that you need to get to. So it's a great dispatching function, the nearest to function. So I've kind of gotten a quick overview of the Show Map tab, given you an idea of a historical mapping versus live mapping. Steph, have you been, I thought I'd just take a peek and see if there was any questions going on.
I don't see any questions, and I don't see any hands raised at the moment. Okay, Karen's hand is raised, but I think it's the traditional Karen hand raised. Karen, please type a message and tell us if we're wrong in our thought process there. Heather, the one thing that I wanted to make sure that we make people aware of is that the purpose for today's training is very basic training, kind of how to on the really basic stuff. During next week's class, what we're going to work on is, okay, we're talking about looking at individual vehicles here and just clicking on a vehicle and showing it on a map. Next week's training class, we'll talk a little bit more about how to use groups to logically view the types of vehicles or assets that you want to see at a certain time. How to use zones to create more meaningful information about your how your vehicles are spending their time. So today is going to be a little bit more basic, and you know, I know that a lot of you may know this stuff. Others of you, it may be there may be a couple of points that you pick up here and there. Please do join us next week for the advanced training where we take this stuff and we take it to the kind of the next level, because I think that fleet size also affects the functionality. If you've got 100 vehicles, each vehicle listed individually, makes it a lot harder to use the system in some instances, as opposed to having groups based on their location or vocation. So we'll talk about that stuff when we get together next week. So I think on the mapping, I didn't see any questions. Karen did confirm that she does not have a question. I just want to make sure that everybody else is good.
Sorry, Stephanie, I see another hand raised. I'm not sure if there's a question there.
We'll try to unmute and see if we can't. Did you have a question? Are you able to ask it verbally, or do you want to type it in? We tried to unmute her earlier. I'm afraid that she doesn't have microphone.
Okay.
So I'm
No
going to go
problem.
ahead
Thanks,
and
Stephanie.
assume that if they have a question, they can answer it. Here's another one. Hands raised for 2 minutes. Audio pin is sent. Let's see if we can answer Matt's question here in just a second. We'll wait a second. If we don't get an answer, we'll just go on. If you aren't able to communicate with us via the microphones, please feel free to type your questions in. And I know that there are some glitches where the hand automatically raises. That's the conversation with Karen a moment ago. If you don't have a question, don't worry about it. We'll just go on about business and see how things go. And please do enter any questions into the questions field. Heather, I'm going to let you resume with your next section.
Okay, great. Great. I was just going to pop on here to the Vehicles and Devices tab. Basically, this is the tab that kind of keeps you organized in terms of your vehicles and your devices. I'm going to click on this Vehicles and Devices tab right here, which will bring up basically the list of any of the devices that you have placed into your database. So this is actually a pretty great little spot to kind of help you keep organized. The first thing that I wanted to point out here is the ability to check the device health of our units that are in your vehicle. So if you click on that tab, you can see anyone with a green check mark means that it's communicating, everything's going along great. The ones with the red exclamation points need a little bit of attention. And as I said, these ones are our demos, so I'm sure they're unhooked or being worked on somewhere for demo purposes. So in saying that, that's a great little feature. You can also click on current activity here, which will give you a quick glance, an outline of all your vehicles, what they are doing in terms of, is it driving, is it idling, is it stopped. So it'll give you the status, and it'll give you the last stop address. And then you even have the ability to pull up a little bit more information under the More tab, which would be, I think very functional, is you could show the odometer reading as well. So that can all populate for you as well. At a quick glance, you can see a good idea of what's happening with your vehicle here as well in terms of administration. Now, the other thing that you can do in the Vehicles and Devices tab here is you do have the ability to edit. So by either highlighting the particular vehicle and clicking Edit, or simply double-clicking, it'll bring up that vehicle information. So any of the particular, the VIN number, license plate number, state of province, odometer readings, anything in here that needs to be tweaked. Driver feedback is taken care of here. So if you want to enable the beeper in the vehicle for speeding, for idling, for harsh braking, for anything like that, this is where it's done. You want to apply these vehicles to groups. That's done in here as well. Any comments that you might want to keep on these vehicles, any interesting points, anything at all, that can be kept in here just for reference as well. So there's lots of, this is basically where you do manage the vehicles and the devices themselves. And from here, I might add as well, while you're looking and checking out to see if everything is A-OK, you can also choose to choose all of them or choose to highlight a certain amount of them, and you can flip them over to the map. So I'll just do the selected vehicles, and it'll bring them up on a map for you to view as well. Steph, did you have anything to add while I'm in this Vehicles and Devices tab?
The only thing that I would maybe add is that with the Reports button up there on the menu, you can export this data to an Excel spreadsheet. So if you wanted to take your current odometer rate information out to a report to manipulate and use with some other application, clicking the device details report right there will take all of this information out for you to the device report.
Yeah, that's a good point, Steph. So where Stephanie was referring to here is if you click the drop-down bar in the report, you click the default device report, it brings up an Excel spreadsheet down here with this information in place there. So then you can tweak it as you'd like if you want to have something done with the odometer readings, etc. So it is available down here for as I mentioned.
Just one more quick note on that. If we had not chosen to turn on device health or current activity or whatever, and you run that, export that to Microsoft Excel, those fields aren't populated. They're all listed as blank. So if you're trying to get that information out, make sure that you queue it up in the HTML first and then export it to Excel.
Okay, good point.
We do have a couple of questions. Color scheme and route listing under the map. What does yellow mean? Put some vehicles on the map for us real quick. Let's go see if we can figure out what the questions. I think it was when we had the traffic highlighted on the map. So just go ahead and turn the view to Bing and to traffic again.
Sure.
Let's see if we can't figure out if that's what he's referring to.
Right here?
Yeah, give us a little zoom out so we can see. Oh, there you go. So when you turn on the traffic on, it's really good there before the map refreshes behind, because the first thing that shows up is red, yellow, green, and there's actually also a black that can be, and there's a little tiny piece of black, Heather. If you come up here where it says the 407 up here where it says ETR, there's a little piece of black on the roadway, which means that it is an extreme slowdown in the roadway. Green's regular road speeds. The yellow is a little bit slow. Red is going to be a delay, and black is pretty significant stoppage. I believe that's the question that you're asking. Not traffic, but the routes listed under the map. Routes listed under the map. I'm trying to figure out what the what's yellow on the map.
Oh, I know. Let me just go back. Let me just go back to show
Oh, you had. I know.
There's a time frame here for the. Is that what that's referring to?
I bet it is. Routes listed. The problem is it's so hard when you different industries use routes and trips differently. Is this what you're talking about? I think I have a yes here.
Yeah.
I think this is what he's referring to. Go ahead and explain it to everybody, Heather.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, so that's actually a really good question. You have the ability to set up work times and off-hour times in terms of driving to what is acceptable within your company. After-hours driving set up in our demo database is between 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. These vehicles do start their day a touch earlier than that. So what you're seeing is a highlighted time that is technically after-hours driving. So it's a quick glance to see, okay, wait a minute, there's after-hours driving occurred. Why did this occur? Does that help? Did that answer the question? Okay, great. And the green, yes, I was just going to move on to the green there. The green indicates when the addresses under location are highlighted green, it indicates that that is a imported zone into our database. If it was, as you can see, this address right here is not highlighted green, basically it's an unknown zone. So you're not sure about that address. You do have, as a user, you do have the ability to enter zones manually by simply entering the address here and drawing the zone on the map, to which
that
you
zone will also show in green if you hand draw it, right, Heather?
What's that?
A hand-drawn or an imported zone will always show up highlighted and marked as a known location, right?
Absolutely. It's always a known address. I was just going to go into the way that you can do two different ways you can enter in zones. Two different ways. You can do it manually right here from the map, which can give you any size or shape of map or of zone, or you can import it from an Excel spreadsheet, which I can quickly glance over later in when I go down on the toolbar. So there are two different ways. Now for this particular demonstration, we did enter in hundreds of zones from an Excel spreadsheet, and as you can see, they're highlighted here. So for this particular demo database. Okay. So in the vehicles, I'm just going to swing back to the Vehicles and Devices tab really quickly here, and I'm going to just show you where the engine data information is. This is a great feature to our system, the fact that you can get engine data from your vehicles. And we will probably go into more detail on this one next week, as Stephanie pointed out. But as a quick overview of this particular engine health analysis, you basically have 3 different views. You do have a summary view, you do have a fault view, and you do have a status view. So I'll use these vehicles again, and we'll just put on the summary view really quick here today. We'll change the time period to give us some good data last week, and we'll show the report. So nice and simple. So you can see there was all the new faults that popped up for these particular vehicles. And then, of course, you can double-click and drill down on those. Any exceptions? Currently, there's no exceptions written for these particular faults. So that gives you a pretty good idea of what's happened with those vehicles in a summary view. Now, the other 2 views, the fault view will basically lay out the fault views. It'll basically drill down this particular report and show you what fault is popping up. So you've got this particular vehicle, and you can see that this guy's late for an oil change, as you can see here. So some various things that are occurring here.
Let's see if we've got anything more interesting further down the list.
Oh, here we go. System Diagnostics Code number 2, Special Instructions, System Diagnostics Code number 2. So where we can, Steph, correct me if I'm wrong, where we can, we will actually explain what the diagnostic code is, where we can. It's fairly hard to know absolutely every single diagnostic code that's happening with every single engine. So what we do is supply you with that particular code, and then it is the fleet manager, the maintenance manager, whoever's managing those vehicles' responsibility to go and look up that particular code and say, okay, this one has been thrown. What is happening with this? Okay. So the third view here is the status view. And this sort of gives you an idea of some levels and whatnot of that's happening within in the engine. And I will click on that, and I'll show you the status view for last week for these particular vehicles. Might be a lot of information. It's just taking a minute to load. Okay, so just so you know, we do take the battery voltage every hour when the vehicle is turned off, and it looks like this one didn't run on May 2nd. As you can see, we're getting a battery voltage every hour. And we'll scroll down. So here's an interesting, you get fuel level, you get things like engine coolant temperature, engine total hours of operation, total fuel used, fuel level. Some very wicked, wonderful information here to take advantage of.
Just real quick, before we pass this information, we have to make sure that people are aware of the fact that engine data is not necessarily available from all Geotab hardware. There's specific hardware that will do engine data, and there's specific engine types. Some older engines don't have any engine data. So while this is a cool format that we're looking here, not every piece of Geotab hardware has the capability to pass this information through. So if there's somebody that's interested in engine data, we need to get together with their reseller and talk about, what do they currently own, what are options, and so on and so forth. It's not 100% given that everybody's going to get this information. So I just wanted to factor that in so that we set everybody's expectations correctly.
Excellent. Good point. Thanks, Steph. So as we were talking about zones earlier, this Customers and Zones tab is basically where you can go to import as many zones as you'd like from an Excel spreadsheet. If you simply format that Excel spreadsheet accordingly with the name of the particular company or address that you want it to be named after, and then the address is in is in column B. And then you can simply load up and follow the brief instructions here and import that all those zones from an Excel spreadsheet. It's quite a simple process. In the Drivers and Activities tab here, I just quickly wanted to show you the activities and trips, even though it will be a bit of a repeat because it is the bottom half of the Show Map tab. So it's basically the same thing, whereas you can click your vehicles, apply them to the map, and it'll give you basically their route that they've done today or whatever time frame you've chosen. You can also choose whatever you wanted to look at here and go ahead and map activity and map current position from this report as well. So as you can see, it's very fluid here. You can go back and forth from one to the other quite simply. Again, you have the ability in the reports here to take this information and flip it into a default Excel spreadsheet.
All of these other reports that are listed down here are based off of custom reports. Anything on My Geo tab has the ability to unlock all of these reports and take them out to Excel. If you have a standalone database, again, we can get with your reseller to determine, is it time to upgrade to the next version of Checkmate. I will warn everybody, the next version is coming out in July, so you might not want to jump real fast because we're just going to upgrade it again here in a couple of months. And the cool stuff that's coming in the next version is equally neat and wicked as this version. So that being said, Heather, the one thing that we haven't talked about on this report is the ability to click the Summarize tab and look at the data rolled up. So do me a favor, just double-click Second Harvest and put all the vehicles in the pane to the left over here. The select, double-click. Okay, and now I'll select all of them, and now summarize them. So now instead of looking at the summarize of the entire fleet, we're going to compare the summary of how these guys spend their time. How much customer time, undefined stop time, driving time, depot time, home time, in the terms of minutes. And then the next thing we do is we divide that down into the percentage of our time that we spend with our customers at unknown locations. We spend driving, office and depot time. You should have a norm for your fleet or what you expect to see these numbers to be. And then you should also have a fairly routine distance. You know how far your vehicles drive and what's expected there. So you should be able to look at this at a glance and see, on a daily or weekly or monthly basis, what percentage of time do I spend facing a customer? What percentage of my time do I spend driving? You want to see a higher percentage of customer time and a lower percentage of driving time. So that we have, billable hours or we have face time with customers to make new sales and whatever the case may be. And then the last column is one I like particularly because it tells us what our idling percentage is for the amount of drive time that we had. So of all the minutes that we idled, what percentage of that is of our actual minutes of drive time? And this fleet actually is doing quite well. Their idling is 11% or lower. I have, in fact, seen fleets that have greater than 100% idle time because they actually sit and idle more than they drive. These are great opportunities for us to employ either technologies or policies to remind the drivers to shut the vehicles off because we are wasting fuel. Anything else that you can think of, Heather, on the summary report?
Oh, that's great. That was great.
Just so you know, I don't get into doing a lot of the custom reports and stuff like that in this particular meeting, but if we take this report out to the Reports tab, you can take these percentages right into the Microsoft Pivot Table and create a graphic, a pie chart, if you will, of how your driver spends his day. So there's a lot of really cool information and a lot of neat ways that we can graphically represent that data just using the tools that we have right here. Let's see if we have any questions, Heather.
Yeah, I was just going to say, let's see if there's any questions right now.
That's all we've got from the questions.
Mention that engine data. Okay. Okay, great. Sorry, just to go back here, I'm going to go back under the Drivers and Activities tab, and I'd like to show you a couple of more default reports, standard reports that we have available for use. First of all, the Risk Management Report is, again, quite handy. And I'll go ahead and choose the second harvest vehicles again, and let's see how they did for today. Might not. So as you can see for today, I've chosen this group of vehicles, and this report really gives you a good idea of what they're doing at a glance in terms of how fast are they driving, which these guys are pretty good drivers. They don't do a lot of highway driving, which is handy. Again, it gives you the stop times that you can do some comparative analysis on. Should they have many stops greater than 50 minutes throughout the day, other than, of course, being parked overnight? Probably not. And you can do that comparatively based on what types of customers and what types of zones that you have in place as well. Oh, Steph, can you hear me okay, Steph? Something just came up on my phone.
You had an audio glitch there for a second, but we have you back. You might want to point out that that yellow highlight is the same yellow highlight that we were looking at in the other report.
Yes, I was absolutely going to get to that. This, as you can see here, there's the after-hours trips, and it's highlighted yellow here. This will line up perfectly with that original activities and trips report where the time was highlighted on that one as well. Some interesting features on this report that come really handy. We can give you a suspected tamper sign, so if anything is unhooked with our unit, it will show up in this report as well. Harsh braking incidences occur here as well. Harsh braking is defined as a 17-kilometer drop in 1 second, or 11 miles, I believe. So that's a harsh brake will occur, and it will be brought up to your attention in this particular report. As of course, you can do reports based on this to see if there's any patterns occurring with your particular drivers. You know, if they have lots of occurrences of harsh braking, then that particular driver may be more apt to being rear-ended or rear-ending someone. So, then you can take your, you can apply this information and manage accordingly.
Heather, I wanted to make, I want to make two quick comments on this report, and then we have a question about zones that we'll go back to another view to cover the zone question. I wanted to point out that there was a question about the stop times. A stop in geotab definition is either a hard stop, an ignition off event where you turn the ignition completely off, or we have a 200-second rule. If the vehicle stands still idling for 200 seconds, we assume that you're stopped and idling for a reason. So we call that an idle stop, and we record it as a stop. It's shown in this report and in the activity and trips report and on the map as an actual stop. It will show as a crude idle time as well. So you get to capture that information a couple of different ways, and it's actually quite valuable information. I did also want to comment on the fact that the view of the software that we're looking at today has everything in kilometers. Because the computer that we're using to view this database is actually residing in Canada, where kilometers rule. If I were to look at this exact same database with my computer pointed at it, my computer is set to the American mile standard, I would see all of this same data, but it would all be converted to the miles because that's what I process in. So whatever your Windows settings is on your computer, I know that we have a lot of different diverse people in the meeting today. And if you're Canadian, you always see it in Canadian, metrics, and if you're U.S., you always see it in U.S. metrics. But we can cater for a crossed fleet that is some of this and some of that. Your local machine determines what you see the data in. So I thought that was an interesting function of this report. The last question that we have that we've not yet answered, Heather, is we alluded to drawing a zone on a map. Could you go in and draw a zone around a location so that we can see a manually drawn zone?
Sure, for sure. So let's pick. Oh, you know what? I have a better idea. Let's do this. No unknown addresses. I thought there was one.
You can just put one of the vehicles on the map and then zoom in and draw a zone around it.
Okay. Let's actually just take this address right here. We'll hide. And it's a simple process where you can zoom in or zoom out according to how close you want to get into that particular address. And then you simply draw. You click on Draw Zone. Zoom in a little more. Something that comes in handy when you're drawing manually is the actual aerial view, because then you can get a good idea of the building that maybe you're delivering to or that you're parking at, and you can simply click on the draw zone. You click every time you want to make a turn. You can make it whatever shape you want. Make as many points as you'd like, and bring it back and double click at the end. Then you choose to name it. Is it an office? Is it a customer? Is it a school zone, a gas station? And you can add different types of groups in, or types of zones in as well. So in this case, let's say it is a customer. You can pick the color that you want it to show up on as a map down here, color and the transparency of it. You click OK. Oh, sorry, I forgot. You do need to name it, of course. Customer number 1, and you click OK. And the map will show up, or that zone shows up then on the map. Does that answer the question, Steph?
I believe so.
Okay, great. Okay, so in terms of the drivers and activities, this is, as I was saying, this is where quite a few of our default reports reside. And as we went over the activities and trips report, the risk management, we do have a driver's congregation report as well, which is pretty handy, where you can choose all of your vehicle types, and let's see where they met up. So it's querying the stop. So you can see that these particular vehicles congregated, and this happens to be their office, at this particular address today for 8 hours and 33 minutes. So that would probably be overnight, and that's perfectly okay. So it gives you an idea of where your vehicles have congregated throughout the day, and hopefully it's acceptable behavior. In Canada, we like to call this the Tim Hortons report, unfortunately, but it happens. So
you can also, under the Options tab, you could also go in there and select which locations don't account as a congregation. If we tick that depot zone, or exclude from depot zones, and there's also got to be something else. I don't know. We can pick which ones of these custom zone types or whatever. We don't count a congregation if it occurs within that location.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. Great. You do see speed throughout a handful of our reports here, but we do have the ability to look at it on a speed graph, which is somewhat interesting to view. If we take this particular vehicle and let's take his speed for last week, and you can show the report. So it's going to query the speed report. So it shows you basically the time of day and the days that these incidences occur, and it gives you kind of a good graphical view of how this has happened, of how the speeding occurrences have happened. Now, you can see that this particular vehicle never gets up over 100 kilometers per hour, so it's really quite a safe driving vehicle. Steph, do you have anything to add on this speed graph?
No, I have better examples in in other vehicles, but yeah, this guy drives very well. No complaints. There is we do have a quick question related to speed, if we can just take a quick break here. It says, will the maps ever display the speed limit for roads so that we can accurately pull speeding exceptions? The answer to that question is yes and no. We are currently working on this functionality, typically referred to as posted versus actual road speed. And the openstreets.org maps are going to give us our best accurate information of what is the actual speed that's posted on that road to what is the what speed is the driver doing. The problem with those kinds of technologies today is that when you get off of the highways, they're only accurate about 25% of the time. So we're currently in a waiting period, waiting for the maps to mature and the accuracy and the quality of the data to get to the point that we feel that we can we could actually state that a driver has done something wrong and know for sure that when we're telling you that he's breaking the rule, he's actually breaking it. So it's not currently available. It is something that we have on our roadmap. It will not be in the July release, but we hope to see it sometime soon. So stay tuned, and we'll keep you posted as we get that functionality available.
Great. Now, Steph, I've basically gone over sort of the basic functions that I feel. Is there anything that you wanted to add to this, considering that we'll go over rules and groups and how to use zones a little more in depth, and maybe the reporting features a little more in depth next week? I think the basic features are covered off.
Yeah, the only other thing that I'd want to cover off real quick is the ability to create a user account. So if you want to create a new user, let's just go to the administrator and go to users and watch this process. Now, depending upon the build of Checkmate that you're running, there are varying ways in which you can do this. We can go to add a user. And then Checkmate is requiring that you use an email address as the username. So we put in an email address, and we can just put user@geotab.com. And then we can give them a password as password. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Confirm the password is the same. And we can click OK. Now, we've made this one an administrator. Go ahead and pull, okay, configure a security clearance. Let's do it this way, and then we'll go back to our user. Okay, so let's say that we don't want them to have administrator levels because we don't want them to eat our database. Let's go to the supervisor level. If you're an administrator, you're a system administrator, you can purge the database. So we don't really want everybody to be able to purge a database. So as a supervisor, you don't need to be able to do everything, but you do need to be able to make an accident key. You do need to know how to administer possibly alarm sounds if you're utilizing that functionality. Devices, create new devices, edit devices, administer driver ID keys, create exception rules. There's a lot of different things that you can do. And it's as simple as if I come in here and say, you know what, I really want to be able to administer security clearances from my local supervisory level here, right? So if I just click on the one that's red down here, administer security clearances on the right-hand pane, work holidays is a better one for a supervisor. Let's use that one. Go one down, Heather. Sorry. If I say administer work holidays and then I go allow access at the top, I guess I can't override it. Let's try to take one away. Let's say administer routes. Let's see if we can take away. It won't give us any more security clearances than we already have.
To add the level. Correct me if I'm wrong, Steph, but you have to add a clearance level, do you not, to kind of, you have to create your own in this one?
I think if we, you know what, I think if we click on the branch manager, we can edit it, because that's a custom one. Now I'll try to take or add something. That's it. Now I can just click allow access, and it'll turn it from red to green. I was using the base level supervisor instead of the custom one below. So we've given them the clearances. We can go back to our user. And what do we call our user again?
Right here.
user, click on that guy, double-click on him because we'll edit him, yeah. And then we'll take him from administrator to a branch manager. And
there you go.
You can have, yep, there you go. You click OK, and now our user is a branch manager. He can do certain things, but he can't, purge the database and mess things up too much. Click Home, and you can see how to quickly create a username, and if you want to edit the clearances of what they can see and can't see.
Perfect.
There's a question in the questions that says, how will the email requirement affect users already in existing current databases? It doesn't negatively impact you until we launch 5.5. If you upgrade to 5.5, you're going to have to change your username and password to something that is an email address, because Checkmate 5.5 supports emailed reports. So we have to have an email address to be able to send you those reports. So it doesn't affect anything today, but in 5.5 in July it will affect. So it's just a matter of, we started requesting that information earlier than we actually mandated it that it would be there, so the majority of customers are set up properly. Any other questions? We have about 8 minutes left today, and we're going to cover a variety of more in-depth topics next week. Any hands raised or any questions? I think we've covered everything that's in here so far, Heather.
Yeah, I can't seem to see any new questions.
All right, so I think that's a good basic view. Oh, how do we register for next week? If you contact your reseller, they will have the link for you to be able to go and register for the next session as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you'd get that link from your reseller, so please contact your contact there, and they'll get it for you. And we look forward to taking all of this and taking it a step further next week. Not knowing where everybody's starting from, we started out very basically. Hopefully you picked up a couple of tips today, and then we're going to go into more depth and talk about, probably things that are a little easier to manage, a slightly larger fleet or a more diverse fleet. Once you know how to look at dots on a map, now what do I do with this information? A little bit more in depth that way as well. So we hope to see you again for an hour next week.
Yes,
if you have any questions, please contact your reseller in the meantime, and we'll be happy to make sure that you get the answers you need.
Okay, great. Thank you all for attending. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.